In this episode of Mighty Cherry Mods, no, I'm kidding. Hey, Tristan from Cherry Tuning Performance. I'm not going to say another quick one because I realized that I said that for both of my last videos, so I'm not going to do a quick one. Also not going to tell you that it's a quick one, even if it's a quick one, because it doesn't sound good. Yeah, today, i30N here. I've actually done quite a bit of work on this car before. He was here last weekend for me to try to get a whole bunch of stuff done. I didn't quite get around to doing the boost gauge, which is what we're doing today. I thought I might take you guys on for the ride because there's a few little tricks, places I found to run the cables, that sort of stuff. I thought you guys might be interested in seeing some of that and where to tap fuses and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna snap you, or I've already snapped you onto my hat, so I'm just gonna chuck my hat on and take you guys around and literally just do the whole thing. I've already started. Hopefully you're in the sun now. Hopefully you can see. I've already started on the car, so I've taken the wheel off and jacked the car up. Let me just chuck you on. Okay, how do we look? Good? Let's look down a little. Let's just check. Sweet. Sweet. So, i30N, white hatchback. Was here last week for upgraded brakes, and he's done quite a lot of mods. We've got him some of these parts as well, helped fit them up as well. Let's start with, actually I probably won't go through all the mods for the car. This carbon fiber cover is beautiful though. Let's move this nicely out of the way somewhere else. All right, we'll start with where I've got this boost reference from. This kit that I'm using, this is I'm just throwing shit into the engine bay. This is a Spec Pro gauge from Autometer. That's the gauge there, P30232. If you need a hand, we can get you these. They're, not only are they a nice looking gauge, and now I'm throwing rubber stuff on the floor. Not only are they a nice looking gauge, nice and clean and easy to read, but you'll notice a lack of a vacuum port because these are a digital gauge, which is cool. Digital means that we're not running vacuum into the cabin. Instead, we're running a pressure sensor, an extra pressure sensor in line in these hoses here. So what I've done is I have tapped off this hose here, which is obviously a vacuum reference. And a boost reference because it is into the manifold directly. Normally there's a hose that goes straight across to here. What I've done is I've installed a completely new hose, which has got tape on it. Installed a completely new hose here with a T-piece from Aeroflow. These are barbed, so they do not come off once they're on there, so they don't need like clamps or anything. These ones here, they've only got like the little bead rolled, so I thought a clamp might be beneficial. And same here, it's just a little bead rolled tube. So basically, yeah, T-piece off to the stock system, but then also here we've got this gauge going across here into this boost reference. Normally I would have been able to put this boost reference here, which is essentially it's screwed into I think it's an MPT 1/8 tap here. Normally, yeah, be able to put that just in line here with this hose. But the other thing that this customer wanted to do was run a hose over. So we've run this hose over here and down to his blow-off valve. He wanted to bypass the factory blow-off valve solenoid. So he's running the blow-off valve straight off this vacuum feed as well. So yeah, all through this one system here. This here, I mean, there's a bit of hose here, but it is quite thick, so the bend radius was a bit low. This was the nicest way that I could get it, where it would actually sit okay and under the engine cover with this Forge dual catch can header tank combo. So yeah, with everything in here, this is the nicest way that I could get this hose. Perhaps, you know, just a smaller loop here might have worked as well. I might look at that later, perhaps, see if we can get it to work. But I do know this is working because his blow-off valve works. We've tested it. You might notice as well, there's a little bit of coolant around this engine bay. When we got the car last week, I noticed this hose had been pushed all the way back and it had been like squirting just a little bit of coolant. So perhaps not quite as tight with that clamp as we should have been in the first instance, but it's all good now, so no more leaking. I'll probably get to this later and clean it up. So this gauge comes with a loom, which I have to cross my fingers and toes and hope this is long enough, because it's got to get all the way to this sensor in the engine bay here, all the way from inside the car. But I guess we're going to find out. And we're going to run that down through here, and then what I'm going to show you, so I'll again take you along for the ride. We're going to remove the inner guard here. So yeah, this, you can see this car has coilovers, and we did these Forza rotors with the alloy hats, and it's got Forza pads in there now as well. We also did braided brake lines for him. That was what we were doing last weekend. Yeah, I'm going to take this inner lining out, and I'll show you one of the best ways to get the hose, if you want a hose, or the cable in this instance, in and into the cabin, because there's a couple of grommets that are in behind here that goes straight into the passenger footwell. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that as well. I've forgotten to get a Phillips head screwdriver, and that's already loose. Great. I'll just grab a Phillips head. All right, have a Phillips head. So realistically, these could stay. So let's just see, we'll see how much movement we get out of this with the clips removed. I know you can get a fancy trim removal tool to do this. I've literally been doing this for my whole life with a flathead screwdriver. I think it doesn't damage anything, as long as you're careful, obviously, on paintwork. So I don't see any reason to not do it like this. If it's, you know, what you're used to and you're comfortable with, I don't see any reason why you would change away from doing that. Short of breaking clips, I suppose, but if I break any of these clips, I've got a box of spares, so if I do break one, it's not the end of the world. What do we got? This car here, you can see, I'll show you the wheels. Actually, I'll show you the wheels now. This car's got these 20-inch Koya racing wheels, which actually they're like surprisingly light for a 20. But yeah, 20-inch racing wheels. Offset wise, what are we talking? 40, you know, so a plus 40 at a 20 by 8.5. It's yeah, it's a little tight in there. He's been scrubbing on the interior plastics. That's why on this side you can see it's all cracked out here. You can see the tire's been scrubbing here on there. So for any of you wondering whether a actually it's on a 225 as well. That's a 225. So yeah, for any of you wondering whether a plus 40 offset, even with camber, which is interesting because it's camber adjustment on those coilovers, will clear, I think the answer might be a no, or maybe you need to be more selective with your tire choices, which perhaps a 20-inch wheel you can't do that. A little clip missing there as well. Let's go under here. Gotta be really careful, these ants here. Been bitten by a few of them. And downside of working on your driveway, I suppose. But it is a Saturday, so it's actually a long weekend at the moment too. Ugh. Just carefully take this out here. Okay. Alright, that's probably enough room. So a very interesting thing, hopefully you can see in there, Maybe I'll take that out. There. Oh, you pointed really far down. There's a grommet on the left there with a cable going through it. Very interesting that this chassis you'd think would be the same as the N-Line and the SR. However, generally we find the SR and N-Line have another one here that's just not got anything in it. Unless I've worked on a lot more Ceratos lately, because the Cerato definitely has one and I'm just forgetting, but I'm pretty sure in the i30s that I've done, they've all gone through a second grommet here. So it means we've got to pull this grommet out because it's still one of the best locations to get it into the engine bay. Sorry, well, I guess into the engine bay from inside the cabin. So we'll sort out something with this grommet here. Probably cut a slit in it so that it goes through nicer. So let's go inside the car. So going inside the car, we want to get up in through here, and ultimately we want to tap off one of the fuses in the fuse box in here. There's a couple of them that are spare. Actually quite a few, and it's good because some of these spares are actually accessory power and some of them are permanent power. So even if you do want to do a dash cam or something, you just have to figure out which of the fuses, I don't remember off the top of my head, which of the fuses is permanent power and which is switched power, and then that way you can do your dash cam just purely through the fuse box here. You don't have to run a cable to your battery. So let's start. So if we pull up this trim here, pull from wherever it wants to come, there we go. The reason we want to do this is because we don't need to get any of this stuff out, but this side panel here, if you push from inside, you'll be able to pop it out enough that you can get fingers under it. Which we do need to get because we want to get cables in into that vent up here, which is going to be an interesting task, trying to get cables up in through there, but let's just see how we go. All right, well, go on to using my phone. This is the little camera we're using. It's really cool, actually. Not that this is like a tech review channel or anything. Not that I wouldn't mind if it was, because I'm a bit of a tech head. But yeah, this is the tiny, so tiny little camera, and it's magnetic as well, so you can magnet it to stuff if you want to. It's just, as I've just learned, gets about 15 minutes of video to a charge, so need to leave it in the case. That battery case has a battery in the back of it, so it'll charge that back up. I don't know how long it'll take, probably quite a while. So I thought I'd switch to my phone just to go through a few more things. So yeah, these gauge pods that we have, they're not on our site, they're not for sale. We had a company in the US that was making these. They're actually a factory piece on the bottom. As you can see there, it's almost identical to the factory one here if we look at it. I don't even know which side is which. That's that way. So yeah, it's a factory piece. It's just not, he's ground off the bit that says that it's for a left-hand drive on the passenger side, but anyway. Company in the US buys these new genuine parts and then plastic welds these cups onto them and finishes them off. The problem is trying to get these made for us. We ordered 5 for an initial batch, and I think it took a bit over 6 months, maybe longer, to get them. So not ideal. No one wants to wait that long for products. So what I'm going to do is, I've had to put a hole in there to get the cables through. So I'm going to close out that hole the best I can now that the cables are through. Put on the gauge pod here, which will go like this, and then out through the other side, and then I'll plug it into the other gauge, and then I'll push it all back in, and I will catch up with you then, because unfortunately I can't do the freehand stuff with my phone. It's too bulky. So I'll be back. All right, so that's done. That's the gauge installed in the pod. It's really friggin' sturdy. This gauge can be moved if it needs to be, so it just depends on where the customer, exactly where the customer wants it. He may want it clocked a little bit one way or the other. The cables now come down here. That's the cables for the sensor that's in the engine bay, so I'll run that one up through in a sec. And then there's a few other cables here for dimmer and the power and the ground, and there's actually an output wire, a trigger wire. I think it's the purple one. You can have certain boost events trigger like an aftermarket ECU or something to that effect. So you can have this going to a computer and say, you know, at specific boost level, then whatever. I think there's actually a reasonable chance, I'll double check the instructions, but there's a reasonable chance that may just output the boost level as a digital signal, because it obviously, this whole thing uses a manifold pressure sensor, so, or a pressure sensor, not a manifold pressure sensor. But so what we'll do now, I'm going to run this cable here down in through here, down through there, and in and through. There'll be a hole right there. Oh, where is it? Okay, it's not right there, it's right there. If I push the cable out of the way, that one looks like a crescent moon shape here. If I wiggle the, see? There we go. So that's where that's gonna go, out through there. I don't know actually how I'm gonna go, because this is like the biggest connector in the world, as far as round connectors go anyway, because of this stupid tab on the side. So I did briefly look at what would be involved in trying to unpin this connector or depin the connector to put it through a smaller gap and then back out again, but can't figure out those pins. I didn't want to break it by trying to force anything, so anyway, I might see if I can, if this has got enough charge to do a bit more. What's he at? What are we at? 23%. 23%. Let's see. I reckon we'll see how we go. I'll chuck a hat on and put this on the clip and take you with me. Okay. Hopefully I have you. So let's get this bad boy going. Move this out of the way for a minute. I wish I could go around here. If I had a smaller connector, it'd be fine. I could undo the dash. There's a 10mm in there to get it through there, but maybe what I'll do is I will maybe put a bit of tape around it so it all stays together, and then I will cable tie it underneath here. There's plenty of cables under here to tie things to, so. Alright, just like I thought. No way in hell that's getting through that hole in the engine bay, so might have to drill. Alright, so camera died again. Yeah, I might drill out that spot there, because it just ends up in the same spot inside, and it's all like shielded inside here. None of this here you can see is particularly dirty. I had a rubber grommet as well to go in that hole, so I'll probably go find the rubber grommet. So that I can plug that hole, pull the cable through and re-plug the hole. So I have to figure out if I have a drill bit big enough. I don't think that I do. So I'll be back. All right, so I've got the cables through. I had to drill a pretty big hole, so I ended up having to use one of these grommets that I have. I put some tape over it too because this connector is so big. Trying to get it through the middle, I had to drill the middle out quite a lot. So I've taped it and then clipped it in onto the metal over the tape. So definitely not going anywhere. It is a proper grommet, but not the prettiest thing I've ever installed. So anyway, so we've got cables here now. So now that they're here, we can run them along the top. We can cable tie them up there to a few things, run them in through here, and that will bring us out here. Probably then what I'll do is I'll take it up and across the back here because it's the fastest way up to the sensor. So I'm going to go do that now and be back with you in a sec. Alright, not that you can tell straight away by looking at it, but this is the cable here, plugged into that sensor now. Wrapped the whole thing in electrical tape. Look, ideally it would be good to have some of this like sleeving. That would have been perfect. I thought I had some, but I don't. I've kept it away from anything too hot anyway. It's sort of cable tied up and off the block. It's cable tied away here as well. And then cable tied down there, and then you can see it disappears into the wheel well there. I'm gonna go and I'll cable tie it up under here as well, so it's not sort of draping, and then put the guard back in, and then we can move on to cabling up the interior of the car. So back inside the car now, the wheels back on there. Wheels on, guards in, cable's done. Cable to the engine bay is done, so that's all sorted. Cover's back on, we're all good. Now we just got these cables to deal with. Ground, as I said, easy. We'll just do it to this bolt here. The power, easy. Tap into a fuse in there. We have these fuse taps. We're probably going to put them on the website for a couple of bucks. They're just, I found them really hard to get hold of, so when I bought them, when I found somewhere that had them, I bought like a massive amount of them. So to help people out, I'll just chuck them up for a couple of dollars. Just you guys cover the shipping cost or whatever, or if you buy an X-Force exhaust or something, you need to use this to get the power. Yeah, just a really easy way to do it. I'll show you how to, you basically just pull a fuse out and then jam that in its place. It's really easy. And then just crimp that on using a crimping tool. I've got one down there. So yeah, the purple one, I read the instruction manual here. It's like a trigger wire, so you can, you know, control a fan or something based on a set PSI level, so it doesn't just output PSI like I thought it might. It instead just outputs based on a trigger. The red wire is power. We did the purple, black. The other one's white for dash lighting. The easiest thing I'm thinking is I'm gonna pull this trim off here. I've already started to unscrew that screw. I'm gonna pull that trim off there. I just checked, these lights in here don't light up unless the headlights are turned on. So if I can grab a multimeter and figure out which cable it is that does the backlighting for these, because it's just a trigger, it's not going to draw much through that cable, so I'm sure we can tap off just the LED power, like lighting control for these. So this will be 3 wires, I'm going to assume, because it'll be, you know, in, out for the control to be able to send it to the computer, but then also a lighting loom. So I'll just chuck a multimeter, a ground on here and onto the pins in the back of here and figure out which wire it is. So I'll pull all this out and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I should have known better. I've pulled one of these out before, so I don't know why I didn't remember. I think I've been spending too much time working on old 90s cars. Is that a Supra? Yeah, so trying to bleed everywhere in the car. This here is still going to have a dimmer wire. One of these will control the lighting circuit. So I'll still do what I was saying. I'll strip some of this coating back, and I'm just going to chuck a multimeter into each of these points, turning on the headlights and just seeing which one powers up, and that will tell me which cable is the trigger for the lights, and that way we can get the gauge to dim when the headlights are on. Or perhaps it doesn't have any lights on and then it brightens up when the headlights are turned on. I'll have to figure that out. So I'm gonna go grab a multimeter and figure out which cable it is, and I'll tell you guys. So this blue wire here is only getting 12 volt when the headlights are on, which means it's the illumination line for this panel. So I haven't tested it yet, but I checked it a couple of times with the multimeter, and that's definitely what it does. So I'm just going to finish up these other ones now. I'm going to cut, and so I've cut and soldered that one in there already. That's the white one. I'm just going to tape all this up, and then I will probably just cable tie this into a nice little bow or something, cable tie it up in here. And these ones here, this one I'll cut and put around that bolt, and this one here I'll cut and put onto a fuse stacker to a switched power source, because that's what this says to do. We definitely don't want it plugged in 24/7, I don't think, because I think it just means it'll be fully powered all the time, which is probably not ideal. Anyway, I'll be back. Ta-da, I'm back! The camera has enough charge to keep going, so let's keep going. Hopefully my hair is not in the way. Alright, so we've got this done now. I had to pull that back a little bit, but not a lot really. It didn't come all the way down. Might just chuck a little bit of tape on that. Given it's getting 12 volts when the car is getting when the headlights are turned on, we don't really want this just flapping around in here. So let's chuck a bit of tape on it. All right. So I have a lot of fancy tools from a previous life where I worked with audio-visual equipment, i.e. cables. So I've got cable strippers, which make this like the easiest thing ever. Man, I used to do this with a blade and just like run it around. I end up with like lines all over my thumbs all the time. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days in the terms of them just not being that good. All right, so we have a crimp tool. Seriously, you need to get one of these for yourself. They're really not expensive, and being able to like just jam stuff in and crush it down and be done straight away like that, it's so much easier than trying to use pliers or some other way of, you know, doing that, finishing these cables. So this one's going behind here, and we'll tighten this up. It's just a 10mm socket here. That's our ground sorted. That'll be fine out of the way. This one here, I don't know if this customer is ever going to want to use a trigger wire for something, so let's just leave it in case. It's the safest thing to do. All that's left now is this one. I might put all this back together now. Such a nice piece here, this hydro dipped one. Let's put that the right way. Well, okay, let's put it the right way. So it's all just friction fit, this stuff. It just clicks in and that's it. It's that and one screw on the side. Same deal here, that just all clicks in too. So this is 2 screws. That's done, we're all done. So just this one here. Probably This fuse here is the one I normally use, and I don't find that the car that does anything unless the car is turned on. So what we'll do, I find needle nose pliers help pulling fuses out, easy as, and fuse stacker goes in here. Usually the fuse on the inside is for the actual connection, and then the fuse for the outside is for the whatever you're attaching to it. Obviously this has a tail on it that's pretty long, so I might just cut all of this off. Sweet. Hopefully you guys can see that all right up in there. That's the red cable, the black cable to the ground, the white cable goes down and in here and into the back of this, and the purple's just tied up out of the way for future use should that be so desired. So I'm fine with that. It's a little loose in there, but it's not like looms and looms of cables. And what you'll find is the cover, let me clip it back in place, it actually has heaps of clearance in there. I use this spot here for the X-Force valve controls if you've got a SR or an N line or something, or I suppose if you put an X-Force on your end. Easy as. I guess probably should have tested it before turning the car on, but sorry, before putting it all back together, I mean. But obviously works, powered up, all good. And it wasn't powered on as soon as I plugged it in either, which is good as well. Let's see. That's good. So there, it's got so you can see it brightening up when I put on the headlights, turn them off, and it goes dark again. But it needs to be set up. There's a lot of modes in this thing, so when I flick it, you can see it brightens up to the night mode, and then turn it off and it's off, but then it comes back on. So all the modes need to be set up in this. There's these 3 buttons here and a pretty comprehensive instruction guide for what to do for what. So we will hand this over to the customer and let them set it up however they want, or you know, I'm happy to sit with customers and go through it with them. Now what I'll do is I'll tidy up all the mess and we'll go for a drive, make sure it works. So I will not make you guys watch me clean up, I'll just clean up by myself and I'll be back. Guys, I know it's a real stylish hat, but I'm going to take you guys for a ride in this i30N now, just to show you the boost gauge is all functioning. We've also done a fair bit of work to this car, it's been tuned by us as well, so yeah, I thought you guys wouldn't mind coming for a spin, so I'll snap you on and we'll just go for a quick drive and you can see the boost gauge working. So boost gauge is working fine. I think we're seeing a peak of about 20.5. Really feel those braided brake lines. The brake pedal's like quite firm. Not sure what this person is waiting for. Come on. You've got a free road there, bud. Come on. Sometimes people need a little encouragement, I think. Okay, so not a quick one today. Jeez, killed this camera twice and had to shoot a whole bunch of stuff on my phone. So I imagine that editing this is going to take a lot longer than I wanted, but that's fine. I think I got to show you guys something pretty cool. You guys got to see installing a boost gauge and where some of the connectors go and where is a good place to get a boost reference from the motor. And you obviously got to see it working as well, and we also got to take you out for a drive in this car that's been tuned, so you can see what that's like as well. So anyway, I'm gonna keep going with these vlog styles. I think I probably won't do ones quite as big as this, maybe unless I feel like strapping a GoPro to my head, because at least the battery will last longer than like 15 minutes on a charge. Or I'll just shoot more stuff on my phone. I don't know. I'll figure out a formula that works. Let me know what you guys think, if I've done something right or wrong, or you think I could do something better or worse. Anyway, let me know, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next video. Keep it KTM, guys. See you next time.